The Detroit Lions lose their third straight game and falls to 0-2 against the Minnesota Vikings after a 23-10 loss on Christmas. In a game that the offense, the defense, just everything that the Lions could have go wrong did truly go wrong. I don't obviously want to blame the defense for everything, but in my opinion, this is one of the worst, if not the worst, loss for the Detroit Lions under the Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes era. This was a game that the Vikings obviously didn't have J.J. McCarthy. They had their backup Max Brosmer, second ever start in his career starting this game. Went 9 for 16 and threw 51 yards. And you end up losing 23-10 in that game. In my opinion, that is completely unacceptable. You cannot have that happen. And it's really a game where the Vikings did a really good job of getting to Jared Goff. And it really wasn't really ever really that close, it seemed like. I know it was a tied game going into halftime, but like even when the Vikings had the ball, it was because of the Lions making mistakes. The Lions had 6 turnovers in this game, 2 interceptions, multiple fumbles in this game, and the Lions truly gave this game to the Vikings. I think that's one of the most frustrating parts of this whole game is that not only did this quote-unquote eliminate you from the playoffs, which if you won this game, I don't think you're obviously winning against Chicago. You're definitely not wanting to win against Chicago now because this loss actually puts you in fourth for the division, which if you look towards next year, while fourth in division this year isn't good, it's not going to do you much favors next year if you win next week and you end up third in the division. At this point, just end up going 8-9. It's already a disappointing season. I know a losing record isn't one that the Lions fans really want and the Lions organization wants, but if that truly leads to results and change, then why not? Like at this point, I'd rather have a pretty easy schedule compared to what they had this year. If you look at the teams that they would play next year, you'll be playing like the Cardinals. Like they wouldn't be a very good, hard, difficult schedule whatsoever. But just overall, let's kind of get back into the game a little bit because it wasn't even like the Vikings played well offensively. I mentioned Max Brosmer, 51 yards. The leading rusher, 65 yards, one play, Jordan Addison, which basically put the game to rest for the Lions. Like, that was really it. There was a real possibility that the Lions could come back. It was a jet sweep to Jordan Addison. We know how fast Jordan Addison is, and he just took it to the house. Like, Aaron Jones wasn't even really that effective. Ty Chandler wasn't really even that effective. Justin Jefferson wasn't effective whatsoever. 4 receptions, 30 yards. Aaron Jones only had 3 receptions, 10 yards. This wasn't an offense that wanted to win this game. This wasn't a good offense, and you still allowed 21 points to be put up, and it's truly, again, I don't want to put it all on the defense because I don't think this offense helped this defense whatsoever because not only were they bad offensively due to turnovers, they couldn't protect Jared Goff. That's been a big issue for this offensive line recently. Fumbles, Jahmyr Gibbs had at least 1 fumble in this game. Jared Goff had multiple interceptions. If you looked on fantasy, if you really truly want to know how bad Jared Goff played in this, I believe he had a negative fantasy score, or at least towards the end of this game it was negative. Like, that is how poorly he truly played in this game. Jahmyr Gibbs, 17 rushes, 41 yards. David Montgomery, 10 rushes, 25 yards. Offensively, wasn't able to get the running game going because obviously the offensive line, and really the way that Brian Flores really sets up his defense, if you've watched kind of his defense, he's going to bring up basically all the guys up to the line of scrimmage. And he's going to really kind of be scheming on when he's going to bring the blitz, when he's not going to bring the blitz. When he's going to be dropping someone back, there's going to be someone coming. He does a really good job of scheming those things, and Jared Goff in the past has done a pretty good job of it against this. In this game, obviously he did a really bad job. Now, there was some points where there's quite a few bad balls, and obviously that's going to be a big factor in this game. I know Dan Campbell has been getting a lot of flack from this game for his play calling. I don't necessarily think it was all play calling. I think it was obviously offensive line issues. I think just blocking issues. But I don't also want to say it was a good game play calling either because there's multiple times where the Lions had opportunities in this game, and it was just kind of like bad ball after bad ball after bad ball. And you can really kind of give a ton of credit to the Minnesota Vikings for obviously playing well defensively, but there's certain points in this game where it truly seemed like some of these play designs that was coming up when the Vikings were truly bringing the house, was pretty long kind of developing plays or shots down the field when that's really not the way you kind of address or really attack a Brian Flores type defense. Now, there has been times in this game where they were able to. I thought Amon-Ra had probably the best offensive game that anyone had, 8 receptions, 68 yards. Isaac TeSlaa continues to be a big play, continues to be basically a touchdown machine. I love seeing him a little bit more involved in this game. J-Mo obviously had a few catches in this game. Khalif Raymond had a big catch early on in this game. But outside of that, like offensively, this was just a very, very poor performance. This was just a poor performance overall for the Lions, and it's really going to be one that obviously ends their season. Like, they play the Chicago Bears next week. That game's not necessarily going to matter for anything. It's going to matter about really where you're going to get drafted, which is going to be, I think, 15th right now is where the Lions draft pick is. Honestly, at this point, like I said earlier, I think you lose this game against the Chicago Bears. Now, I don't want to say that specifically. I hope it doesn't happen. But it's almost to the point of, like, you're not going to playoffs. What's the point? Like, what's the point of winning it? End the year on a good term? Like, be happy with a win? Dan Campbell has already specifically said that, like, all he matters about is being in the playoffs. Being in the playoffs. Having a chance to win a Super Bowl. You win next week, the only positive thing is that you beat Ben Johnson twice. And you probably hold Ben Johnson and the Bears from a 1 seed. Like, that is really the only positive. I obviously would love it, but like long term or going into next year when it comes to draft position, I don't know if it would necessarily help overall. But honestly, they deserve to lose this game. They deserve to miss the playoffs for how they've been playing the last few weeks. This was an unacceptable performance. This was, like I said at the beginning, in my opinion, probably the worst loss under the Dan Campbell era. And that's specifically speaking of some of the games that they were blowing out pretty early. This is just not a good Minnesota Vikings team. And for you to go 0-2 against the Vikings, for you to go 0-2 against the Packers, in my opinion, is completely unacceptable. These are good teams. I know the Packers, while they played well against the Lions several times, I just don't think they're very, very good teams, honestly. Like, it took a special performance from J.J. McCarthy to beat you in the first game. Well, guess what? If defensive would have played better, if they would have made plays, it wouldn't have mattered. They would have won that game. Packers, defense played really well week 1 against the Packers. I cannot lie. Like, that defense was absolutely cooking. But to lose that game, the second game against the Packers, in my opinion, you shouldn't have lost that game. The Lions had chances. The Lions should have never lost this game. They did, though. And honestly, like, even though I said they should have never lost this game, they did end up deserving to lose this game because of how they played, because of how many turnovers, because they weren't able to protect Jared Goff, because they didn't play well, because the Vikings took advantage of the Lions' weakness. The Lions need to address those things in the offseason. I obviously talk a little bit more in the offseason about that, what I would do, what I would kind of approach it, who I would try to go after. But yeah, very, very disappointed. 8-8 on the year. Officially eliminated from the playoffs, but Lions have one more week. And I'll obviously talk about the matchup against the Chicago Bears later this week. But hope everyone had a Merry Christmas. And fortunately, the Lions did not have a very Merry Christmas after that loss.